good afternoon, Dublin. How are we doing? Are we really standing in between you and lunch?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Hi. My name is Davor. As you heard earlier, I'm a part of a global venture firm called EightRoads. We manage around $11 billion globally, and have been fortunate to partner with some leading companies like Alibaba, Toast, AppsFlyer, and today I'm delighted to be speaking to another portfolio company, HiBob, and Ze'ev, who is the Chief Operating Officer. Do you want to introduce yourself and HiBob a little bit?
Yes, so thanks. My name is Ze'ev. I'm the COO of HiBob. We're a global HR tech company. We offer a platform systems for managing modern businesses. Everything has to do with the most important resource we all have, which are our people. We have over 3,500 customers. We've been selected to as one of the top 100 SaaS companies over the last few years, and excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
It's an honor. One thing before we get started, just to say, our hearts are with you and some of the folks that you have in Israel. Obviously, a difficult situation, but just wanted to extend my best wishes on behalf of all of us.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely challenging time for a lot of people suffering and addressing the challenges at the moment, and hope for things to get better.
One thing that it's very near and dear to our heart is helping build global success stories all across Europe. And HiBob is one of them at this point, having won and been nominated and won the top 100 cloud companies globally. And a couple of years ago, we decided that one thing that we really need as an input in building huge, successful European companies is to get more young technical talent, both in technical functions but also more broadly, and make sure that they come to our scale-up companies on their journey to 1,000 employees and beyond, but also to stay there. And this was the second year that we commissioned the Young Generation in Tech report, going out to 7 different European countries and speaking to about 2,000 people in sort of the 20 to 30-year-old bracket. And we really asked them, a bunch of different questions. And I must say, last year, which was the first year we did this report, it was quite a, I would say, downbeat report. For example, the job security was raised as one of the key concerns that the young generation in tech had. But there were some other things as well, talking about how hybrid work environment was a bit challenging and so on and so forth. And today we're going to talk about some of the key takeaways from this year's report, which I would say, for all of us who are trying to attract that young generation, was quite more positive. So I'll just sort of give you the 5 key takeaways from the report, and then we can talk about that a little bit with you, Ze'ev. So the first topic that came up this year was that job security was significantly higher than last year. So last year, only 30% of the people said they felt secure in their jobs. And this year, that number doubled to close to 60%. In fact, also the satisfaction in job went up to close to 80%. And again, we can talk about it. I think part of our hypothesis is that maybe the worst is behind us when it comes down to our scale-up companies and how they have gone through a lot of change. Maybe it's also the improvement in macro, that people think that there'll be more positive news coming in the future. The second one was around AI, and this is probably one of the most surprising positive takeaways, that unlike what you read in the popular press, that AI is going to take hundreds and maybe millions of jobs, 4 out of 5 of our respondents said that they see AI as a facilitator of their job, and they are looking forward to using AI to do their job better. And that was quite surprising, I would say. The third thing that again was quite a surprise, and again maybe positive for all of us, is that the young generation wants to get back into the office. So 56% of the respondents said they would prefer to be in the office 4 or 5 times a week, which is in contrast to last year, which I think there was some indications that the young people might want to spend some time in the office, especially around working with their managers and having a bit more face time with their manager. But such a strong response to kind of wanting to come back into the office certainly is something we should discuss. And then the last 2 takeaways, one was around purpose, that the young generation really does want to see their jobs and their companies focus on a real purpose. About 20% said that this really drives, it makes a difference for their companies. And then finally, and I think this is another one we can probably touch on in more detail, is that they're quite open and willing to talk about how their job is impacting their mental health. So over 50% of the respondents said, look, we're definitely seeing impact of our jobs on our mental health. We need a bit more trust to do our job right. We need a bit more resources. And of course, we need some help if needed. So that's a little bit in the summary. Again, thank you to HiBob for kind of collaborating with us on this. But Ze'ev, any reactions?
Yeah, I'd love to walk through some of the insights we're seeing. As I said, we service thousands of customers and hundreds of thousands of employees. So we are seeing in our data that there is slight growth in terms of companies hiring, or there's a slowdown in letting people go, which correlates to what we're hearing about the feeling of job security. And our assumption is we're going to see that continue. The important point, I think for me, the biggest surprise was actually the reaction about going back to the office. Seeing such a significant number of people talking about the value they find in going back into the office for 4 days a week. It goes back to, I think we're all still figuring out, we've moved from working remotely to hybrid to great resignation to hypergrowth to suddenly slowdown through lots of changes. And I think the key learning here is these changes are still happening and they will continue. If anything, it gives me a bit of humility to recognize that I can't necessarily myself or other executives forecast as well what we've got coming in. And it's about putting in place the right systems and structure that allows you to address what's going to come up. So if you suddenly have more people in the office, you thought you'd need less office space, well, maybe that's not the case. It changes a lot of aspects in the way you operate. And if anything, it means as you're building your business, as you're scaling, as you're changing, is the importance of really listening to your core audiences, to your different employees, understanding what they need and recognizing that will be different in different offices in different parts of the world, and not expect that you know everything. Just really create that culture of open communication, getting that feedback, learning and improving from it.
Yeah, you mentioned great resignation, which was the sort of the key kind of keyword we used last year. That we're quite, in some ways, maybe worried that this whole new young generation, just as a sort of, about for the last 20 years, the GDP impact of tech has doubled from 4% to 8% in EU. But we did start to think, well, what happens then as we start to continue to scale these companies if our young people are going to go, leave the industry in droves? And I guess the hybrid piece is an important one because we discussed that maybe that young generation didn't really have a pre-COVID experience in the office, and maybe it's beginning that they're now starting to have a bit more experience in the office, and they're thinking, well, actually, this is working well for me. And certainly, I think for a lot of us, we see this, that the managers are the ones who are always very keen to have their employees in the office. So I think that's, as you say, a significant driver of maybe also the satisfaction, overall increase in satisfaction of the employment.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, last year, one of the challenges we saw, and I think a lot of organizations face, was you had a lot of first-time managers that became managers during, I'll call it the COVID era. They possibly didn't get as much mentoring. They had to manage people who were going through a lot of internal change, the challenges related to COVID. Often they were managing people that this was their first or their second role. And we know that being able to go through that processes in an office gives a lot more support and help. And I suspect that some of that is a response to finding the value of that community, etc. Just as an anecdote, I was interviewing someone for a role yesterday, and it was the first time that someone asked and saw that as an advantage, that our office is actually open 5 days a week. So she was saying she would love to spend, is it possible to spend every day in the office? And I said, yes, our office is open. I've been there on Friday once. I was the only person there, but that's fine. You can come in. That was a plus. While I remember a year ago interviewing someone, and they were arguing with me, well, do we really have to come into the office once a week or twice a week? So just anecdotal, but I think there's definitely some people are seeing that value come in again and again.
That's great. We're looking forward to seeing what next year brings in our next research. We'll see how the trend line continues. Let's turn our attention a little bit to maybe one of the big takeaways here on AI. So much discussion, rages between, is AI kind of a positive for the employees themselves? Is this a disruptor? I think I quoted the Goldman Sachs report. It says I think there's going to be 300 million jobs lost because of AI. But there seems to be maybe a little bit of a divide. Young people are embracing AI and thinking, wow, this is actually going to make me more productive. Maybe in some ways similar to what we see the young generation embracing all other technology. Any thoughts from your side?
Well, so I'll say two views here. So one, I'm a bit older. I remember building my first website in the mid-90s and just seeing that transformation and having similar discussions of, the web and then mobile, how's that going to impact? And obviously changed a lot of roles, what we do, how we do it, but it hasn't had this impact of, well, you don't have any jobs anywhere. The opposite, we are at a low in terms of unemployment in most countries in the world right now. What we are finding when we talk to our customers about AI is it's a mixed bag. There are some people, and some of it could be age-related, as we're seeing, that are very excited about the opportunity. They're saying, using tools that can help us be more effective. I think it ties also some to the issue of purpose. We can focus on what we want to do, not on aspects that we find could be more mundane. Becomes important. And then there are people that are more concerned. How am I going to retool? How am I going to learn? How am I going to change? And so forth. And I think that's just part of an innovation cycle. And if any advice we can provide companies or leaders is recognize that people will react in different ways to that situation. Think through that, collect that information, and help people through that journey. AI is here. It's going to have a massive impact. And it's important, as we said earlier, get the information, get the insights, have the systems, have that culture in place that allows you to get the input from the different people that you serve in a company and be able to take them on your journey to success.
Yeah, we sort of see that as well. We obviously see kind of AI not just as a sort of a vertical technology. We sort of see it as an enabler of many things. And if we look at our portfolio, we have tools that have obviously human in the loop, but they really focus on this automation and improvement in sort of call it quality of outcomes, whether that's with a company called Jura, which is kind of is sort of a legal tech company that helps lawyers, be more productive with their documents, and clearly there is a significant AI component that's now part of the solution. We have, companies that, freight forwarding sector like Raft, where again, a lot of it is around AI, but there is a workflow on top of that, and so the same buying persona, the same users, right? The idea is to just have the improvement in the quality of what you can do and how fast you can do it. And sometimes really, the improvements can be dramatic. One company called Remilia, which we sold to Blackline, a US company, you could see that people used to, what they would do in 8 hours, they were able to do in 1 hour by, automating all the reconciliation of their, invoices and the manual work they have to do. So it's significant already. And then we are mapping out all the different functions in our portfolio companies and kind of obviously looking at development and how AI can obviously improve development processes. But it's also hitting some of the creative sides, right? Like marketing, creative, UI. So there's just a lot of different areas where I think we're just at the cusp.
Yeah, well, again, I'm a big believer in the positive power of technology to improve our life and our world. And I think that as we think of it from an HR perspective, just recognize that different functions are going to be impacted by AI in different ways and in different timelines. And right now we're seeing a lot happening with customer support and automation and some marketing automation and tech. But not necessarily on some of the core HR functions, because you can't really take the risk of some of the hallucination, which has been a challenge, and so forth. So just, it goes back to the point, and I think also, jumping to the mental health issue that came up as an important, is you need to really be thoughtful about your people, and how do you manage and recognize we're all individuals, we're all different. Yes, we have some things in common, but understand that you will have different needs in different offices, different times, different teams, and don't expect to just have a cookie cutter. This is the way everything is going to work. If anything, we're learning from people who are entering the workforce, and keep in mind that within a few years, the largest group of people in the workforce are going to be Gen Zs. They expect, they're not just going to take things for granted. They expect to be part of the process. They're looking for purpose. They're looking to be recognized as full people that they are, and it's brilliant. It makes, I think, some aspects that I grew up with, what I would call lazy HR, just not acceptable anymore.
I think the mental health piece was definitely, again, I don't know how you guys think about it from your company's perspectives. That one jumped out. Frankly, it wasn't raised in the same way before, and we see it really being raised now more and more from really the senior ranks of these companies all the way down to the junior ranks. It feels like, obviously things are moving faster than ever, more data, more processing power, more information online, more information for your job. So how do we address this, more holistically? It seems like it's here to stay, really.
First of all, I think it's fantastic that it's happening, that people are able to bring and say, yes, my work is having an impact on who I am, or my life is having an impact on my work. And this, not going to get into the whole conversation about work-life balance, but just recognizing that we're full human beings with experiences, with impact, and that's part of it. And about 10 years ago, I was on an advisory board of a early stage software company, and the founder and CEO, we was co-founder CEO, was going through some mental challenges. And he was able to come up to the company and says, I need to take a few weeks off. I need to deal with what I'm going through. And I remember that was just so unique that someone would come and bring that to the team. He got a lot of support. But now that's moved from a one-off. I remember when that happened, I was thinking, I've never heard of anyone else do that. Now people will come, will say, yes, we are struggling because we're feeling either stressed at work, at home, everything happening. And I know I'm sounding a bit like a broken record, but if anything I want people to take through is just think about how do I create an environment that allows people to give me feedback, to collect it, and to change. And as an executive, just have more humility about my ability to predict or to forecast what people actually know. And instead of that, think more about how do I create scalable systems that can adjust to whatever needs are going to come up. Because we very few of us prepared for the pandemic, and then for work remote and hybrid and great resignation and growth and recession, and now people want to get back in the office and AI and so forth. These change is just part of the way we work in the world of tech.
Absolutely, and in some ways, probably just finding channels where people can communicate that in an open manner is quite important. I know we're going to run short on time, Ze'ev, so maybe just to close off with one question. I think the purpose. We probably could discuss the sort of the need for purpose. I think we live to make our entrepreneurs successful, and I think it's easy to get up in the morning when you're trying to enable somebody. And there are some of our companies that, in what they do, there is a sense of purpose. Aukin is trying to cure cancer through use of AI and federated data research. I mean, that's an easy one, but for some companies, maybe it's not as obvious. Some of the things that we have encouraged our companies to do is to find also projects outside of the day-to-day mission of the company to sort of contribute to whatever cause they want to, right? So we have companies like Spendesk where people can volunteer in specific causes as part of their time they spend in their job, and they can contribute. But anything you want to talk about purpose, before we kind of wrap up?
Yes, so unfortunately I'm not smart enough to help the world cure cancer or solve any other major issues, but I think we can still create a place for different people to figure out what their purpose, how do we help encourage them in the journey they're going through. And years ago I had a pediatrician who was my children's doctor, and he also had a tech company. He was an entrepreneur that he just sold that was doing some life-saving procedures for children. And I, at the time, had a company in digital media and sports. And I started, I feel ashamed talking to you about what I do because, you were saving kids' life. And he said, yes, but, there's purpose in everything you do and how you go about it. And I think just finding that purpose, being purposeful in the way you go about life, in the way you treat your employees, the way you treat the world, is the key takeaway.
Well, we're going to hit up against this lunch. Again, thank you so much, Ze'ev. Thank you for your collaboration on this research. Looking forward to the next years. Thank you for coming today to the wonderful Dublin. And thank you all for listening, and enjoy your lunch.